Hogstye.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Hogsty. It is a big show. We have a lot to talk about with free agency underway now. I know it's the legal tampering period, and there's that little nuance there. Steve can, bog us down with those details if he wants, but I don't know if we even have time. Do we have
Oh,
time? There's no time.
it's not that complicated, man. So, first of all, free agency opened on Wednesday, which is today
Today, as
we're
we're recording.
recording, and
Yep.
the day after you're listening to this. The legal tampering period was the period in which teams can start to negotiate with free agents on the open
Right,
market.
right.
That's all it is. It's
And of course,
basically the cheating. Everybody was cheating anyway, so they just decided. And now
and,
people, if you notice, cheat the cheat period. You
Oh
know,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the signings that Washington made that we'll talk about in, very short order. I'm pretty sure I heard about it like week 16 that it was going to happen.
Well, and there's deals that they have completely done 5 minutes after the legal tampering period starts. It's amazing
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah,
it
right.
is one of those things. I mean, so we got to get right into it. There's so much to talk about today.
There is.
Washington, very active, very active. First, I want to get your guys' opinion. How do you like their approach so far to what you're seeing? I know we can't judge the players because we don't know what the results will be yet on the field, but there's an obvious overall approach that we're starting to see. They didn't go after the biggest name, biggest money players, but what they're doing is a lot of like 5 million for another starter, 5 million for another starter, 5 million for another starter. Not stars, but guys who can just fill the roster.
I was a bit. If I was concerned about it, first of all, I kind of like what they did for the reasons you suggested. You know, they went out and paid for a number of legitimate starters, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I was a bit concerned about some of the defensive linemen, the edge rushers they signed. You know, a lot of them are kind of washed up second chance guys, and I'm not sure if all of them are going to really be worth the money
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. You know, because let's face it, like guys like Dante Fowler, he was what, third overall, second overall a few
Yeah,
years ago, and
definitely
hasn't
a
really,
bust in that respect.
yeah, it hadn't worked out for him. You know, hopefully it work out in DC. But that group, um, but I like the approach generally, and it was, I mean, they could have gone, they had the money to go all out and sign the biggest names, and they didn't do that, and that's almost always a good thing when you're talking about a bad team that needs to start over, you know.
Yeah. Dave?
Uh, well, you know, the first thing I noticed that they attacked the interior of the offensive line rather quickly when they brought in Tyler Baidaz. I guess you say his name. I say
You
his
could
name,
say
Baidaz.
badass. That's kind
Yeah.
of probably what he
I
would rather
like
you
that.
call him.
I like that
Yeah,
too.
Cowboys
Badass. I like
center.
that.
Started
Yes.
a couple years for them now, right? Like,
Right.
and good. I think 26-year-old. So like his best football should be coming up right now.
I think he
Mm-hmm.
was probably, of all these guys, him and Austin Eckler were probably the two like highest profile, not most quality players in their prime that they found.
Mm, we can get into that. That
We
I might
will.
debate that a little. But all right, yeah. Go on, Dave. Anything else?
Well, Dorrance Armstrong is the guy that's probably the most intriguing of this because at 26 years old, he only played, I think, nearly about 50% of the
Hmm.
defensive snaps out there in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he was very effective every time he was on the field. He never really ever actually got a chance to fill a starting role at any level because that defensive front was kind of stacked with talent across the board. So knowing he's familiar with the system, he knows Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn knows what he can do,
Hmm.
and he's going to be lined up alongside Payne and Allen. I'm curious. He's the most intriguing one on the defensive side that kind of got me the most, for edge rusher wise.
Well, let's start with him. So
Yeah,
I
because I think he's
updated.
technically the first name that came out.
I did update the salary cap as much as I could. There were like 5 or 6 names now that I didn't get to because they're not available. But in terms of Armstrong, he's got a 3-year, $33 million deal,
Yeah.
and it goes over here. And so he had a lot of guaranteed money. You know, it's 16 million guaranteed at signing, 22 million total guarantees because the third year, the second year becomes fully guaranteed right at the start of the next year. So, that they basically it's bounced to an option for the 2025 season.
Yeah.
But he's got a $4.8 million cap hit, which is a lot.
It's not a ton, but it is.
No, but that's
yeah.
like, we expect you to actually be here and be a player level money.
Right.
So I think they expect something out of him.
And I think it's, I don't want to go necessarily in order of the signings, because I think we should talk about, they signed 3 defensive ends. And I think it's an interesting approach. If you look at the 3 guys they signed, and they only really have one guy on the roster, these are all rotational guys. I think they are definitely taking an approach here at defensive end where none of these guys is a superstar. None of these guys is going to be, necessarily playing more than 50% of the snaps.
I don't know what Dante
see,
Fowler is, to be honest.
You think Fowler might?
I don't know. I mean, I'm saying I don't know. Is he really a rotational piece, or is he like a bust that they just want to give a shot at and see if he can reclaim, past glory?
Well, it could be, but what I'm seeing, at least for reading tea leaves, is I think this is very much one, you're going to rotate guys. 2, all 3 of the guys they brought in are very different style of edge rushers. Armstrong, when I was watching some of the face highlights, he's definitely that guy who likes to bull rush, contact with the offensive tackle, push him back guy. Whereas, and we'll get to these guys more, I think Fowler's more of he's an outside linebacker edge rusher, right? Mm-hmm. That's his background. Mm-hmm. And then you got Farrell, who's more of he kind of rushes that same style where he's trying to get around the guy, around the backside more.
Speed rusher.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's interesting that they brought in 3 guys with unique skill sets, so they can probably mix and match them based on opponent.
Here's the difference, though. Cleveland Farrell got a 1-year, $3.75 million deal.
Sure.
Dorrance Armstrong got 3 years and $33 million. Not only $33 million, but 16 guaranteed at signing. They want him to be a player. We don't know what Dante Fowler got. I couldn't find Dante Fowler's contract anywhere. It'll come out in time. But what I'm saying is, Armstrong is the guy that they expect to be there, and they expect him to be starter.
And I think he fits what Dan Quinn does with the 4-3 under very well, too. Yeah, that's the other part with him is, Dan Quinn loves the 4-3 under still, so he wants to have that one strong power rusher on the line very often. Very often that guy is kind of gonna be not really playing defensive end, but he's gonna be the guy with an edge rusher coming around with him. But, I can see how Armstrong will fit that very well.
Well, right now, I think with the I agree with you, Armstrong. I think Armstrong is a guy that Dan Quinn is hedging his bets on to be an impact starter. And I think everything else are just kind of rotational pieces. I don't expect much from Fowler and so forth, or even Farrell, but I think right now they are in a position, especially with getting Jeremy Chin, which we'll talk about later, mm-hmm. and getting Bobby Wagner and Lovu, the linebacking core and stuff. I think they're priming themselves for one of the first 2 early picks in the second round to get themselves that edge rusher, because edge rushers are pretty deep in this draft alongside with the interior offensive line. I could see those back-to-back picks being used for an edge rusher and the interior offensive lineman, unless they use those 2 picks to move back up for one of these tackles. But I think they're positioning themselves for something like that to go on the other side of Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, you might be right. You might be right.
I mean, I think we don't know. We're all speculating on how they'll be used.
Right. No, but yeah. I mean, on defense, they've worked hard to fill most of the holes, right?
Yes,
because
they definitely have.
Bobby Wagner is obviously a starter at linebacker. Frankie Louvu, is it Louvu? Is that how to pronounce his name?
Yeah.
Louvu. Yeah.
He's another guy. So he's got a 3-year, $31 million deal.
They expect big things out of him. And if you watch some of him, you can see why. You can see where this is coming from, the plan here.
Well, he's that off-ball linebacker that this team has not had in a long, long time. He's a guy that could drop back in zone coverage. He's a guy that go sideline to sideline. He's fantastic against the run. He's also
a great pass rusher, though.
He's a great pass rusher. But the one thing he doesn't necessarily impact in making the tackles all the time. But what he does, he disrupts the plays going to the outside, clears the way for someone to come and clean up behind him. The guy does everything that you ask him to do. He does all the dirty work, and it's a guy we haven't had in this defense in a very, very long time.
Now, I've called him a middle linebacker. It sounds like if he's an off-ball linebacker, it sounds like maybe you guys are calling him an outside linebacker.
I think that this scheme they're going to run, that you're going to kind of see them kind of mixing it up with 3-4-4-3 quite a bit, including the 4-3 under, which is kind of like a 3-4 in some ways. So I don't think he's not an edge rushing outside linebacker no matter what. He's an OLB/ILB type. Yeah.
I mean, look, so Washington needs an entire new linebacker core, basically. Yep. I mean, you have Jamin Davis, who's okay at outside linebacker, not great, but he's a starter worthy. And now they have two other, hopefully, starter worthy players.
Yeah, and I think absolutely start the word.
Yeah, absolutely. You have no reason to suspect this isn't like bringing in some dolt, they're overpaying. Bobby Wagner, obviously, multiple time All-Pro, all of that.
Bobby Wagner's going in the Hall of Fame no matter what happens.
Right. Yes.
He's a Hall of Fame caliber linebacker.
And so they expect big things of him. And Frankie Louvu. So they've rebuilt their linebacker core in 2 days.
They've done more in 2 days than what Ron Rivera did in 4 years in that linebacking core. It's
Bingo.
Crazy. Yep.
And I would also say, even though he's going to be listed as a defensive end, I think Fowler kind of is in that hybrid linebacker end role a lot. So, like, I would add him to that mix of.
He could be. And we don't really know what defense they're running. They haven't made an announcement. We're kind of guessing.
Right.
But I think Dante Fowler is a guy, assuming he works out, is a guy who you can mix it up with him, and he could be like the wild card out of this bunch, I think.
I think if you look at a lot of these guys that we've mentioned so far, there's a bit of the whole position flex thing, not the Ron Rivera, I want to have one guy who can play 11 spots flex, but Louvu, like we said, ILB, OLB. Fowler, defensive end / outside linebacker. Armstrong, he plays that power end role, which is kind of almost like a defensive tackle at times, when they're getting more physical on the inside. I think there's a lot of these guys who they're not sliding all over the field, but they're going left. They're going over one spot a lot, And
I think that Bobby Wagner is 100% the signal caller.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Bobby Wagner, I don't want to say London Fletcher, but like it's the first middle linebacker we've had.
It's the comp,
it's a comp.
Would be the comp, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully not last year London Fletcher when he couldn't move.
No, I mean, and Wagner is much, much, much more decorated than London Fletcher ever was.
Right. Oh yeah. No question about that. And totally different physically too. Fletcher was that smaller, big, bulky.
Well, I mean, Wagner's not that big. I mean, he's 6 foot, 240 pounds. That's not humongous, but yeah, he's not.
He still has 2 inches on Fletcher.
But he carries his weight exceptionally well.
Yeah, and for those wondering, he is a 6-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, 3 times NFL tackles leader. So this guy is a surefire first ballot
He was the heart of the
Famer.
Legion of Boom defense for Seattle.
He was. Yeah, he was.
I mean, for all the talk about their safeties and that secondary, which was great, he was the one leading the core of
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've all been great. I like all the signings. I get what you're saying about Farrell. Maybe he's just here as like a 1-year stopgap. But I think he's high quality depth. Even
every time you say Farrell, I think of a homeless cat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can barely pronounce his first name, so I'm just gonna
Cleveland Farrell.
Cleveland Farrell. Yeah.
I just see like a mangy cat rummaging around in the dumpster.
Yeah. Next time I find an abandoned cat, I'm naming it Cleveland for you.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
We have a lot of them in the city, so it happens.
Now, the one name there, real quick on the defensive front that I think that everyone needs to watch now going forward this year is KJ Henry in his second year with Washington now, because he was very effective as a pure pass rusher off the edge. Wasn't great against the run, but now he can play a certain role on playing on different pass rush on different pass rush downs. They can move them left to right and kind of move them all around and kind of utilize him specifically for what he's most effective for.
Right.
You know, so that's going to be an interesting name to watch this year, I think.
Well, and you don't have to worry about him against the run because they actually have linebackers whose job it is to stop the run and who are good
Absolutely.
at it.
Well,
Yes,
I think they've got
yes,
three or
sir.
four guys here, including Henry, now that can compete. Dorrance Armstrong's going to start. To me, there's no doubt he's
Yes.
going to start.
If
But-
you follow the money, yes.
Yeah, right. But you got Farrell, Fowler, Henry. So like three guys in a rotational spot there to all compete for playing time. So you would think one of them's going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you agree that Armstrong is probably an upgrade over Chase Young?
Yes.
Dave,
Ain't no doubt about that.
I'm going to be honest. I think most of us could be an upgrade over Chase Young.
But he's a generational talent, remember?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. You're right. My bad.
I got to claim, I was the one holding the flag against that, and everybody laughed at me, and I got to claim victory on that.
And now he's still not with anybody. No one's signed him. No.
Nope.
I've heard he's talking to a few teams. I think the Panthers, I think, are the one team I heard he might go to.
Panthers,
Home for wayward players.
Yeah, exactly. Let him go there and wear ill-fitting shirts and lollygag.
I mean, good riddance, good luck to him. You know, I don't have any harbor any will, but he was never a guy who was.
You want to do, Chase. That's what I would say.
I don't think he's serious about football. I think he's psyched to be Chase Young. He's not psyched to be a football player. That's what I think.
Right. I'm with you. I think that's exactly what's going on. All right, we didn't really talk about let's talk about the last offensive guy, or maybe not last, but Jeremy Chin, the I guess now replacement for Cam Curl, who hasn't signed anywhere. We just checked before we recorded, and Curl and Kendall Fuller both have yet to resign or sign anywhere.
Right.
So Jeremy Chin not signing, or Jeremy Chin 1 year, $5 million, I think is what it was.
Hold on.
5.1.
5.1.
Okay, I didn't have that when I updated this last night. So
yeah. So I don't know the guaranteed, Steve, which I know is what you care about, but
yeah, it is. So
the 5.1 is
it's hard
always,
to judge.
Yeah.
Salary cap hit just on the raw number.
Right. They always put out the big number first, and so that's 5.1. So it's not a big contract, relatively speaking. Guys are now getting 10 plus, closer to 15 to be elite safeties. So this is like a good value for what is essentially a in the box guy. He makes some plays. He's not a huge playmaker, but I think he is a pretty good replacement for Cam Curl. Maybe not quite as talented overall, not as rangy. But if you're just looking for a guy to sit in the box, he's a solid one.
They need that though.
Yeah.
And we'd be remiss in terms of safeties and not mentioning that Washington also re-signed Jeremy Reeves.
Yeah, great move there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A 2-year deal apparently. We don't have any data on what type of contract he got, but it makes me wonder is he really just a special teamer? I mean, he made the Pro Bowl as a special teamer.
Right.
Is he really just that, or can he develop into a contributor on the defense?
I mean, I think before he got hurt last year, which was, you got to remember, it was 2 years ago he made All-Pro and Pro Bowl as a special teamer. So last year he got hurt. He was starting to contribute more and more in the secondary. I don't think he's ever going to be more than a depth guy at safety. More maybe like he can come in and play that fourth corner role if you need. I think he's versatile enough to do that kind of stuff. But you know what? He's been a good core player. He's a hard worker. He worked his way from practice squad onto the, everyday roster. That's a guy you want to keep around, and I think he's loved in the locker room. Is what I hear.
Listen, if you have a low draft pick like that, and he's a Pro Bowler, that is precisely undrafted. I'm sorry, that is precisely the type of guy that you want to keep around. I think Washington made a wise move. You said it earlier, Alex. I mean, I think the takeaway, and we'll get to the offense and everything here, but the takeaway here is Adam Peters hated this roster.
Yeah, no, Dave said that, not me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dave said that. Peters.
I got to give credit to the proper person.
I agree with what Dave said, not Alex. Adam Peters has done an enormous amount of work in 2 days.
Yes, I said horrible things about Adam Peters. Off air. No, I think he has.
Rightfully so, though. I mean, there was no reason to suspect. There was no reason to suspect any of these free agents they had deserved to be back for any kind of serious money.
Right.
Right.
Well, and we were talking about it a little bit already. They only had maybe 4 or 5 really good football player caliber free agents. Not even good, I guess, is what we're taking away from the fact that Antonio Gibson signed right away with the Patriots. Jacoby Brissett signed, I think, today with the Patriots, or maybe it was late yesterday for a 1-year deal. He's a good quality backup quarterback. He's always going to find work. That's a guy who will be working until he's 40 if he wants to as a backup.
If he wants to, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like I'm a little shocked that Fuller hasn't moved.
Well, he's going to want too much money. He had a huge contract in Washington. He's going to hold out, until the first wave gets signed, and he'll sign for some mid-range, 2-3 year deal.
But the free agent market at corner's just been terrible.
He'll pick him up.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get picked up, but that's why I was surprised he didn't get signed. Was he's probably the second or third best corner on the market, which says more about the lack of good corners on the market.
So let's stick with defense just for a minute. So we talked about the defensive tackle starters obviously are ingrained here in Payne and Allen.
Yeah, good depth behind him.
Yeah, good depth behind him. I don't know if Phil Mathis qualifies as depth, but sure.
Well, I was thinking Ridgeway and.
Oh, okay. Phil Mathis is probably a bust. But anyway, the linebackers dramatically improved. Jeremy Chin is probably an upgrade.
I would say it's a wash.
At least maybe it's a wash. The corner group is what I'm most worried about out of this group. Because you've got, I got criticized in our comment section for calling Quan Martin a bust. Okay, criticize me, but I don't think either him or Forbes is what Ron Rivera intended.
Yeah,
I think Martin's going to fall back at free safety. I got a feeling that's where we're getting back there. Yeah,
probably so. And you got Benjamin St. Juste, who I think is probably Washington fans think he's better than the rest of the NFL thinks he is probably. So I think if there's this tells me that in the draft on defense, I think they're looking corner. I think they're gonna draft some corners.
They might, but I don't. Is this a good draft for corners?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't hear a lot about the cornerback class.
No. Now there was some hints that they might be looking at someone like Newsom out in Cleveland. He's like 24, 25 years old. I mean, because he's
they're
on
thinking
the
about trading him.
Yeah. And, I mean, I would be a guy I would jump all over on. Put him on the other side of Benjamin St. Juste, and you're locked down for corners for a good next couple of years.
I mean, the problem is, they're stuck with Forbes.
Yeah.
Because he's got a first-round contract, and he's got a massive dead cap hit this year. He's not – I mean, that's a really hard thing to deal with in here. I mean, they could trade him, but either way, no matter what they do, they're losing money on him. So, Forbes – he's going to be there, and he's going to have to get a chance to start. They're just going to have to do it.
Quan Martin, the contract's better, but I think it's a second-round pick. They can't get rid of him and give up on him this quickly.
Yeah, I think so. They are still going to lose money if they cut it, and they're just not going to cut a second-round pick that's only a year. So they're kind of stuck. So I don't know if they're going to spend a high draft pick, but I think they're going to spend a draft pick or two.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Group. Look, they have so many picks. They're gonna draft a corner at some point.
Yes.
At some point, they're just gonna be, well, we've picked everything. We could either take another kicker or a cornerback.
I think that'd take another long snapper.
Yeah, or another long snapper.
Yeah, move up for one, sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it again, guys. Let's have fun. Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. Why not?
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I wouldn't be surprised if they go corner. I think it's now the weakest spot on the defense. It's safe to say that this is not, a great cornerback group. But yeah, I don't think there's not a free agent out there that I'm jumping on at this point at corner, is there?
No,
Do you-
I don't think so, and I
No.
also don't think they want to spend big money on the group. I mean, they've got big money in the group already, but
True.
and so you have to always think about like cap balance in these things.
Right. Right. And they don't have outrageous money in the group, but they do have, they've
They've got some
spent a lot
money.
of
They've got
capital.
four guys making, well, three guys making over 1.7 million. Two guys are in the 3 million range.
Mm.
Cap hits I'm talking about in Forbes and St. Juice, and then you got two more over. I mean, so there's a decent, not a ton, but there's a decent amount of money in it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fair. We'll see. We'll see if they draft somebody. I don't. I'm with you. They might. You know what this is? This is probably a situation where after the draft, don't be surprised if they're like, well, who's left on the scrap heap we can get in here?
oh sure, yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Remember like when they did that with Will Blackman all those years ago, and like he came in and wound up being a starter at safety for like a whole season just because they went through the whole free agency and the draft and they couldn't find a safety.
Well, also remember here, so right now they are at 62 on the roster and 63 if you count Shaka Tony.
Mhm.
So
No one counts Shaka Tony.
I mean, technically he's still suspended and he doesn't
Yeah.
count, but in terms of play, but so and you're gonna have, what do they have? 8 draft picks, something like that, 8, 9 draft picks.
They have more because they
Yeah.
have.
What
Yeah.
is it?
Dave?
I think they have 8. I believe they have 8 picks
Okay,
overall, don't they?
yeah, I think so. So that's 70. So they're gonna have to bring in 20 more people, and so you figure like 10 more of those will be undrafted free agents, say.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could bring in at least, so they could truly bring in like 10 more free agents if they wanted to.
Right.
They will. They've got to get to 90. So they're going to do that.
Yeah.
So you got to figure this is not the end. Just we got through the first initial wave here, which is what we're talking about today. But there's going to be others. There's going to be like 10 others or so.
There's a couple positions that they still need to address, not just especially on the offensive side, in my opinion.
We'll get to the offense whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's quickly cover special teams first because we did make
Because
two special
Alex
teams.
is a special teams nerd.
Well, they did sign 2 guys. They signed Tyler Ott, the long snapper. As I jokingly said earlier to you guys, I looked for some long snapper highlights, couldn't find them.
I thought you were kidding. Did you really do that?
I did Google it briefly.
Well,
There's really not anything about him out
I'd
there.
like to point out that he actually has competition because Tucker Addington is still on the roster.
Oh,
You didn't realize that, did you? He was
No.
actually signed through 2025.
so there's a snap off that might happen, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, there could be a snap off.
Yeah.
Snap on, snap off.
No, it's kind of like a duel. They line up from 30 yards away from each other, not facing each other, and they snap balls at each other until one of them falls over.
Either that or, the first guy who hits the other guy in the butt wins.
Yeah, that's what you do. First one to hit the other guy wins.
It's got to be square in the butt, though, not the leg or anything.
Yeah, right in the eye.
Ooh. Thanks for that image. Of
Yeah.
course, I brought it up, I guess. But look, so Brandon McManus is the one that obviously Alex wants to talk about. This is the new place kicker.
Yep, new place kicker.
So
Replacing Joey Sly.
Yeah. So he has a career 81% success rate.
Yeah.
And so for those wondering, he is 45 of 82 over 50 and 72 of 84 over 40. Which is always kind of the where the rubber meets the road for these kickers.
Yeah, it's that 40 to 49 range. That's where it matters.
Right.
I think the reason he was brought in versus keeping Joey Sly, though, is extra points, where Joey Sly was kind of bad at extra points.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say the reason is that he wasn't that good. He ain't that good.
No, he was not that good.
Monster leg, but not accurate at all.
Yeah, and McManus also monster leg, but a little more accurate. He hasn't been great. He had some good years in Denver early on. But yeah,
You want to know who has a much higher success rate than both?
Who's
Dustin
that?
Hopkins.
Dustin Hopkins.
Oh,
Dave
yeah.
got it. That was his all-time stupidest move to get rid of Dustin Hopkins.
I mean, he was going through a rough patch. I get it, but like you got
By his
he was
standards.
a solid kicker.
Yeah.
by his standards, a rough patch. He's had a 90%, 91.7% last year,
Yeah. No, that's ridiculous. Awesome for
including,
him.
by the way, 8 for 8 over 50, which is what everybody was always criticizing him over.
Yeah.
Right.
But yes, of course, Steve did mention I'm excited to talk about McManus because, of course, where did he play, Steve? Where did he
I
go
don't
to
know. You
college?
tell me. You say it.
He went to Temple.
Oh, there it is.
He's a Temple Owl.
Is this your new boyfriend?
Might be.
It might be. I was a fan of his in college because not only did he kick, he was also the punter. He was like a very good punter and
It's
kicker.
all things kicking, huh?
Yeah, he did both.
So
He
my
goes both-
question to you then would be,
So he swung both ways for you.
He did swing both ways.
that's good. That's good. Has there been an approach yet? I mean, you haven't moved in with him or anything like that.
No,
obviously.
there's been no approach.
Are you
Also,
sure?
I'm not
Don't
yet. I
lie.
mean, he's only 32. That's a little young for me now.
Listen, I mean, what's age in a time
Yeah,
like
right.
this?
Right, of course.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if Alex is, dating the kicker.
Well,
We'll see.
if you see me wearing a Brandon McManus jersey or jersey or something, then you'll know something's up.
we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I will have to see.
You know what?
We'll find out in future episodes.
You're probably going to get one just out of spite now, aren't you?
I mean, I would hate to do that to Tressway though. Like I'd feel bad.
Oh, I think you ought to get a Tyler Ott jersey. You'll be the only one in America with a Tyler Ott
There you
jersey.
go.
Tyler Ott doesn't even have a Tyler Ott jersey.
Tyler Ott's parents don't even have it.
Tyler Ott just snaps in like undershirt. He doesn't wear a jersey. It's his thing.
I'm sure his parents are probably like, "You play what? Huh?
Yeah.
When?"
But it makes you you make how much doing what?
Oh, let's talk about that. So, yeah, Tyler Ott did not sign the world's smallest contract, just for the record. 4.39 million for 3 years. Not huge,
No.
but not he's considering he's a long snapper, so he's got a $1.4 million cap hit this year. So he's and he had some guarantee. He had 2.8 million guaranteed.
That's
1.6
crazy.
million guaranteed at signing just for a long snapper. So my point is they believe in him. This is not somebody off the scrap heap. This is a guy
No.
who
This is going to be it's
coaching
not really going
staff
to be a
believes in.
competition either.
no, there's
Right.
not with that kind of contract. There isn't.
It blows my mind that a long snapper is making anything other than the league minimum.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like Tucker Addington,
Mhm.
yes, was making. He had a 3-year deal too, but he was making the minimum and no guaranteed money.
Right.
So like Addington would have to truly blow everybody away to dispose
But-
Tucker. What's his name? Tyler Ott.
Yeah, I do think that generally speaking, long snappers don't make anything but the minimum, and maybe they get some guaranteed money like $100K, but like that's about
for
it.
a reason.
Yeah. Ethan Albright played 20 years on 1-year contracts where he got no guaranteed money.
It took me 5 seconds to find Tyler Ott
Oh,
highlights.
did you? No, I didn't
Yeah.
actually search it. I was joking. I was trying to play it off, Steve, and you ruined the joke.
I'm looking at something called Tyler Ott a video called Tyler Ott is the GOAT.
He's the GOAT of long snappers.
Yeah, apparently, according
that?
to somebody named Mr. McBlueby 26, he's the GOAT
Wow.
of long snappers.
I've heard of Mr. McBlueby 26 just now.
just now. But this is a legitimate. How long is this? 1 minute highlight video of Tyler Ott snapping.
Wow. So I don't know if you, I doubt you saw it, Steve, but Dave, I don't know if you did. Tyler Ott and Tressway apparently played against each other in high school. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, apparently they're from the same town, so their high schools played each other and I think one of them went to the championship of their town or something. I don't know, but so they know each other. There's a long-standing rivalry of goatness in special teams there.
It's a small world in terms of kicking nerds, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. And one town putting up 2 special teamers is kind of weird.
Hey, do you remember we interviewed Tressway? Do you remember if he said he played any other position in high school?
I think he did. Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't normally just carry just specialists in high school teams. So
No.
it's possible these two might have like legitimately faced off on the field.
It is
Right.
possible. Yeah. The number of guys who are punters who were quarterbacks in high school, like, it kind of blows my mind. It's
Well,
like
because you see, like, what you didn't play football, but how it works in I'm not talking about like the elite state championship teams, but like an
right.
average team like I was on, the, at some point in spring practice, the coach goes, "Okay, who here thinks they can kick?"
Hmm.
That's literally what they do, and they'll bring up, like, I tried and I sucked horribly at it and didn't work. That's what they do, and so it'll be like a guy like Tress Way. It'll be I'm making this up, but he could be like a linebacker, and he goes, "Who can kick?" And Tress goes up there and punts the hell
Right.
out of it, and he's the punter.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah. I realize that's kind of what they do. A friend of mine was not drafted, recruited to be the kicker on our high school football team because he was a
He was a
decent
soccer
soccer
player?
player.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. I think that's also a go-to move now.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go find the middle. I don't know what it is called in
The
soccer.
midfielder. Yes.
Thank you, that guy. Make the
Yeah.
midfielder.
Yeah. Go
Well-
get the midfielder to do it.
Well, maybe we can get ourselves a little WWE ring there and a little tag team with having Tress Way and Eckler team up against Jeremy Chin and Ott.
You're gonna get him
Because,
hurt, man.
because there was a clip of Jeremy Chin and Eckler last year having it out with each other and having almost coming to blows on the field.
Yeah.
It would be fun to see, like a halftime show, maybe.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
See, I say WWE because it's all scripted anyway, so at least everything is
You mean the
controlled,
NFL?
you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, say hey.
That's what Vice President Aaron Rodgers told me.
There you go.
Vice President Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, please don't vote for Aaron Rodgers out there. Did everybody see this? Alex is
yes.
not making this up.
Yeah.
No, he's
yeah.
not.
He's apparently being thought of as a legitimate vice presidential candidate for who? Robert F. Kennedy? Who is
Yeah.
he?
Yes.
Bobby Kennedy Jr.
That sounds like the worst idea in the history of political ideas.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've been around some politicians in my life who may have been on some substances, allegedly, probably. I don't think any of them had that idea.
It's just so out of the blue. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. I don't know what Bobby Kennedy is doing. I really don't.
Neither does Bobby Kennedy.
No, he doesn't. Well, I know what he's doing. He's doing steroids. Have you seen the guy?
He's a pretty buff dude. He could maybe they need to maybe Washington needs to sign him.
Yeah. Signed it.
Well, we still need a left tackle.
We do.
Yeah, well, let's get to that.
Yeah, let's talk some offense, guys.
Got distracted there for a minute.
Honestly, that is the biggest surprise to me of this offseason so far is that
That's
they
not the
haven't
biggest.
brought in a left tackle.
The biggest surprise to me is that Andrew Wiley is still on the roster.
Well, that's a surprise.
That's the
too.
biggest. So honestly, I couldn't imagine why they kept him. And seriously, they could cut him in a savings.
I would love to help you out with that, get some sort of a bright spot on that, but I've got nothing.
You got nothing. Yeah, you're only doing the show, Dave.
The only logical reason is they look at the contract and they say, well, it just doesn't make financial sense right now to
It does
cut
make
him.
financial sense. He's got a $9.4 million cap hit and a $7.8 million dead cap pre-June 1, and they could
Right,
do him
so you
post-June.
save $1.5 million-ish, right?
Yes, you save $1.5 million. Yes, precisely. And if you did it as a post-June 1 thing, you'd save $4 million.
Right. So technically, you could also wait till June 1 to do that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but
doesn't
they do those early, and it just
Yeah, I
becomes
know,
legally
but-
effective.
I'm just saying maybe they're like not in a rush because of the cap thing.
But they cut.
I don't agree with it.
They cut Gates with the bunch of dead money.
Yeah.
They cut Logan Thomas with a bunch of dead money. Like
Yeah.
they could have done the same thing to Wiley, and they didn't. And I don't understand how that guy does. He have naked pictures of Adam Peters or something?
I would assume not.
The only thing I can think of is right now they have zero viable right tackle options,
Right.
and they want to ensure they get someone like a Morgan from Auburn or someone that will get down to him in the second round or trade up for in the back end of the first to get someone for that
Mhm.
position, and wait see what kind of veterans might be cut later on. That's the only thing I can think of on why he's still on there.
Would you like to hear the tackle group, everybody? Let's talk about this. We'll go in alphabetical order because I don't honestly know how to rank and order these guys. Alex Akinbulu,
Right.
Mason Brooks, Braden Daniels, Trenton Scott, and Andrew Wiley. That is currently Washington's tackle group.
It's not
That
a
is
pretty
absolutely
picture.
brutal.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it's 100% guaranteed that the second round pick is going to be a tackle. How can they not?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone keeps talking about them trading back up into the first. I don't see them having the ammunition to get up into the first to get like an elite starting rookie tackle. Like
Yeah, because you
those
had to
guys are
get up
all
like
gonna
the
be
top
gone by
15
what
for that.
10? Yeah,
In top 15, they'll be gone. Yeah, you're right.
yeah. Like if you're like, well, we can package 2 seconds to get up to no, that's not. It
I,
takes more than that to get up to a first now. I
I think
feel
what
like.
we've seen of these signings is that I'm 100% convinced now that the quarterback is with the second pick, and the second round is going to be a tackle.
So you don't think that they're going for Marcus Mariota as their starter this year?
I do not.
It was
do not.
that's an interesting signing. Dave, I know you read a lot into it.
I don't read too much into it. What's your read on it, Dave?
What for the Mariota?
Mariota.
Yeah.
Let's move to Mariota.
Well, the Mariota, I looked at that and I was thinking, well, maybe that's kind of paving the way for what their ultimate decision is probably leaning more toward Jaden Daniels than it would be with May, because whatever offense you want to run with Jaden Daniels, Mariota would be able to run, as you bring Jaden Daniels into the mold if you want to start Mariota at the beginning of the year or whatever, because May isn't cut the same cloth as Mariota in that sense. And on top of that, Mariota isn't anywhere near the kind of quarterback that May is going to be in terms of a pure pocket passer. So if you're going to be building an offense around May, and if he's not ready to start, why would you throw someone like Mariota in there to start the season if he wasn't ready? Now, if you have an offense designed for Jaden Daniels, which is going to be a little bit more in terms of using his athletic ability, then Mariota makes a little more sense that way. I'm not a big fan of Mariota anyway to begin with either way. I would have much rather just stuck with Sam Howell over anybody else. But
I mean, Mariota's body type is actually more like Drake May than Jaden Daniels. So
yeah,
Jaden
but
Daniels is a stick figure. I mean, Mariota's 6'4",
no,
220.
no, I get the body type, sure, but in terms of play and quarterback play, I mean, he doesn't have anywhere near the kind of arm talent that Drake May even has to run any type of offense that May has, in my opinion, anyway.
We're going to go into quarterback once I finish it, but I've got problems with Drake May. I mean, Washington should not draft him with the number 2 pick.
You're not the only one.
I've done a deep dive into his film now. He is so inconsistent. It's they would really be doing themselves a disservice by drafting Drake May at 2. There, you got me to talk about it a little bit, Dave.
we squeezed some water from the stone there.
Well, you know what? I baited the hook and it worked. It was great.
Good job.
I had to give you something. You've been asking me for like 3 weeks what I thought. I had to give you something.
And you know what? You know what? You just confirmed with everybody else in the most part.
I haven't looked at any comments on it.
No.
I just do my own study.
No, I know.
Look, I don't think it's universal,
that,
but I am seeing more and more of that. What you're talking about. All right. So look, I think we all agree Mariota's not here to be the starter. He's probably here maybe to play a couple games if your quarterback's not
backup. That's what he
ready.
is.
He's a veteran backup, really.
I don't read quite as much into it as what Dave is. I get where you're going with it, but I don't know if they thought that much through it, really. I mean, I think they probably just like Mariota as a quarterback, and hey, here's a backup veteran, and there you go.
From all accounts, he's a very smart quarterback, which is what you want your veteran to be around rookies. He's a pro type. So, it makes a lot of sense in that respect.
And okay. I mean, I see it somewhat where, if you have Jaden Daniels in there, you want the backup to kind of be able to be better formed to run that same offense. I mean, I get it. I just don't know if I give him that much credit to have thought that all the way through like that. That's
to me, he's not as much of a runner as a Jaden Daniels would be.
Well, he's not, but who is?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, he would fit Caleb Williams too. He fits what Sam Howell does a lot. I think he's very similar to all of those guys. But this is not. We're not going to focus on Mariota that much because again, he maybe will start 2 or 3 games.
Well, we've got an all Marcus Mariota special coming up. That's an hour and a half of just talking Mariota. I didn't tell you guys that.
We're at the 45-minute mark.
No, we have another. We're going to do another special Marcus Mariota episode.
Okay.
I think I'm on vacation that week too. So
I didn't even tell you what week it is.
It doesn't matter. I'm on vacation that week.
You just said my favorite excuse in the world. my favorite excuse in the world is I'm busy that day.
Yeah.
It's like,
There
you
you
want me to
go.
go do this? I'm busy that day. I didn't tell you what day it is. I'm still busy that day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. We're all busy that day. Steve's
Yes.
gonna the monocast Mariota hour.
I'll do a solo hour and a half on Marcus Mariota. I'll just babble for 90 minutes.
Right. Um. So we did talk about that they signed the Cowboys center Tyler Biadasz or
I
however
think, is it Biadz?
Biadasz.
No,
And they also signed.
Biadaz.
Yeah, it's a very tricky name.
Is he Polish?
Uh,
That
I
sounds
don't
kind of
know.
Polish, doesn't it?
I like
What is
Badass
Nick
anyway.
Allegretti? Is
Badass.
that? Are we saying that's Italian?
Which one? Yeah, that's definitely Italian.
Yeah, Allegretti. Yeah. So that's the other signing so far on the offensive line. And
Okay, so wait, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but so I Googled pronunciation of Tyler Biadasz,
yeah,
and it's the first hit that came up, which is Wikipedia, which is always right, is Biadish.
Biadasz. Tyler
That's
Biadasz.
according to Wikipedia, it's
The
Biadish.
classic silent Z on the end of it.
Well, it's kind of like Brett Favre. When, like Favre is actually spelled
Favre.
differently than it's pronounced. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that classic something about Mary joke. Brett Favre. Oh, there's also a guy who's not having a good day. Good couple of days as an ex
Brett
Packers
Favre?
quarterback.
What happened to Brett Favre?
Well, he's still in trouble for stealing money from.
Oh, still?
Yeah.
Has something in particular happened? That's what I was asking.
No, nothing new. But
Okay.
ex Green Bay quarterbacks, not great people.
Apparently not.
Apparently, something in the cold, I think, makes them crazy. But back to the offense. So they did sign a guard, kind of a career backup in Kansas City. Some people
Not
are saying
kind
the
of.
money is like borderline start. I don't know if he's necessarily going to start, but I think he gives them good competition as a starter.
Well, Nick Allegretti has a decent contract, but it's. I
They're
don't know
not
if
breaking
it's.
the bank.
I mean, it's 3 years, 16 million, but he only had with 9 million guaranteed at signing, which is what, 60%, $3.5 million cap hit. So it's not free, but that's not huge money, to where they're kind of stuck with him and force him to play. They really don't have anybody with huge money on the roster right now in terms of
O-line, no.
no,
Right.
in terms of the guard and center group, they don't.
Yeah. And I think what he's got is what I would call that kind of like starter high-end backup kind of contract. Right.
I mean, I don't know anything about him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've watched Tyler, Allegretti film, but he is a career backup for sure. Not kind of. He's definitely a career backup in Kansas City. Only started 13 games in 5 years. So, I mean, it sounds like the coaching staff has seen something in him that none of us would know, like it's sort of like Robbie Duncan or somebody.
Right. I mean, I did watch the Kelsey brothers apparently were talking about him leaving, and they were like praising him as a teammate. So whatever that's worth, he's a good in the locker room guy. That's always, you want that.
Well, the one thing I came across when there was someone talking about him, I take it with a grain of salt, of course, but is that before he actually tore his owner, I think his owner ligament in his elbow, right? Owner,
yeah, yes.
Yeah. Before he tore that, I think he was starting it was like 5 games prior to that he was starting that year, and he was actually one of the best interior linemen on the team in terms of pressure rates let up or whatever. They didn't talk about numbers per se, but in terms of effectiveness and starting in that role, he was actually playing very, very well and playing at a relatively high level for Kansas City at the time. So maybe he was turning a corner in his career or something like that, and they see something in that maybe. I don't know. But I didn't go follow up on deep numbers on him, so I really don't know for sure exactly.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
He's better than what we got. That's all that matters right now.
Which is nobody. I mean, they need 5 new linemen. I mean, I know it seems like some of our fan base is like all over Sam Cosmi for some reason. I mean, he's okay. He's not going to blow any. He's not the next All-Pro out there.
If you put a
Now,
really
see-
good right tackle next to him, I think he's fine. But
I
that's the
read you the
problem.
list of tackles.
I know that's the problem. We don't have a very good right tackle
Yeah.
right now.
I still think I would not bank on drafting a tackle. Like if I were
I think I
if
would
I were a
bank on
GM, I
drafting a
would be
tackle.
trying to get one of these veteran free agent left tackles in here just in case.
I think they're
Yeah.
banking on drafting a tackle. I don't disagree with you, but I think that's what they're banking on.
It's such a big risk. Like you don't never know how the draft's gonna fall. It's such a risk.
I still think that I still think the tackle that they do draft will be a right tackle. I think either Tyron Smith or Jonas Smith, I think his name is, or Trent Brown from New England. One of those three, I think we bring in here.
It would
Well,
have
and
to
I-
be by default a right tackle, just because unless they choose to spend the number 2 overall pick on a tackle, which would be stupid.
Right.
And I did see that the left tackle for the Cardinals is getting cut, but he's got a leg injury right now, so he.
I mean, they got to
like,
do
And
something.
ACL.
I mean, because they literally don't have a starting quality left tackle on the roster at
Right,
all.
DJ
They don't even have a
Humphries,
starting
that's what I'm
right
thinking.
tackle on the
Yeah.
roster. They just have a guy who's making a lot of money.
Yep.
Now, if they wanted to bring in a DJ Humphries and hope he got healthy, great. But you're going to need somebody to be there until he's there.
Right.
Like you can't bank on, especially with a rookie quarterback. It seems very risky.
I'm just telling you, I think they have to be thinking tackle in round 2. They have to.
They have
Now
to.
there's one name that I'm kind of hoping they can kind of inquire about, and that's Slater and out with the Chargers, because right now they're like 25 million under the cap. Chargers are in beautiful position to draft an elite left tackle in this draft, and they need to get rid of some more cap money. So, I mean, dangle a second round pick, one of the later second round picks for someone like that, or like a third and a fifth or something like that, and try to get him off of there.
That would
And
that would be I would be up for that.
that would be
if I were
that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave's talking about Rashawn Slater.
Yes.
First round draft pick, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 3 years
But-
ago. Is he? Did they cut him?
No. He's still on the roster. It's the fact that they're 25 million under the cap. They got them releasing Mike Williams, who would be a nice big body receiver to bring in if we ever think about that one. But I'm just talking about going out there and offering a trade to try to say.
A trade.
Hey,
I was gonna say, yeah.
No, yeah, trade wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
You threw me there for a minute.
I thought I led with trade. My bad.
No, you mentioned trade, but yeah.
Okay.
So speaking of the, I keep wanting to say San Diego, the L.A. Chargers, Austin Eckler coming in to replace Gibson. That is an interesting move. I think a lot of people get concerned about the age, right? He's 29, which is old in running back years. Makes him a senior citizen there.
By running back terms, at least.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's
but,
just, to be fair, he's about to turn 29. Just to be clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. But definitely overall a huge upgrade over Gibson as far as that kind of scat back, receiving running back kind of guy. And we all knew Gibson was going, right? No, like I don't think anyone ever alluded to him sticking around.
Here's my problem. He really fell off last year.
He did, no question.
Well, he also got hurt last year. He was playing injured most of the year.
Fair enough, but he still fell off.
Right.
And he's now got how many carries does he have? He's got 999 carries in 7 seasons. So he's an improvement over Gibson, and they're also looking for a guy who can catch.
Yes.
And that's definitely Eckler. You mentioned this several weeks ago, Dave, that if they want a guy to replace Curtis Samuel, this is probably the guy. So I give you credit for that. You pointed this out. And so they do want that. But I think certainly Eckler is the best they have at kind of meeting all the boxes. The best guy they brought in, like meeting all the boxes. And to be honest, I mean, they didn't pay him a huge amount of money, but they paid him a little bit of money. It's a 2-year deal, $8.43 million.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the big thing about Eckler as a receiver is he is almost exclusively a screen guy. Like if you
Yeah,
look
but
at
that's
his,
okay.
Hmm?
That's okay.
No, it's absolutely okay. It's what he does. If you look at his yards after catch versus his overall yardage every year, it's almost identical. Like
Right.
every catch is behind the line of scrimmage, basically. It's kind of wild, and like so that's his game. That's what you're going to bring him in for is to set up those kind of plays. Here's what what he reminds me a lot of though is he's very Darren Sproles like in that he's that smaller back who who's carved out that nice role for himself.
He's a lot bigger than Darren
He
Sproles,
is.
so
Oh yeah, Sproles was a hobbit, but
yeah.
he's not a big guy. Eckler.
And
Yeah.
by the way, Eckler's contract is basically 1 year with an option, more or less.
Right.
Right.
Just the way it's structured, I mean, he's got a $1.5 million cap hit in 2025. They could cut him at a big
Yeah.
savings if they wanted. So it's basically a 1 year tryout.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine him being the feature running back. Because and what he averaged 3.5 yards a carry last year. Grant, I did say he was playing injured last year, but still.
That's what makes me nervous is about
Yeah.
that. Is that
So that's kind of telling me that there might be an open competition between Robinson Jr. and Rodriguez. And if Rodriguez is any bit of the running back that you talk about him being, we could very well see this being more of a Rodriguez and Eckler show, unless Robinson really kind of, bring the game up.
I've been saying it for months.
Yep.
I think
Mhm.
Rodriguez is the best running back they have. He didn't get a ton of carries last year, but he looked better than Robinson, I think. Everybody, the fans are kind of in love with Robinson because of his story and all of that, but his level of success with more carries, to be fair, has not been that of Robinson or of Rodriguez.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think it is a definite open I still think they probably also grab somebody in the draft at running back too. I know it's not a great
Oh yeah, I
draft
think so.
class, but they
It's not a
need.
great class. In fact, I'll be covering that for next week's article.
Yeah.
My initial take is I mean they have some nice now they have some nice receiving backs in this draft. But in
Mhm.
terms of like powerhouse workhorse type running backs, you can carry the ball 15, 20 times a game. I'm sure there's a couple, but I don't think it's really top end loaded at all in this draft.
Just to go over it, so Rodriguez last year as a rookie had 51 carries and averaged 4.8 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not a huge sample size, but on the other hand, Robinson is in 2 seasons averaged 4 yards a carry, 4.0 yards per carry, 3.9 as a rookie, and 4.1 last year. Not great. That's not going to get you the job.
No.
Right.
No. Yeah. I mean, look. Would anyone be upset if Eckler ended up somehow winning this out and being the starter?
No, they're paying him way more money,
Right.
than the other two.
Right. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's going to be a rotation though, just given his numbers last year and how they were kind of down.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't have been a rotation if like they'd brought in Derrick Henry,
Right.
for example. Like
Right.
the Ravens, for some reason, paid Derrick Henry $20 million, which is nuts. But
Mhm.
you bring a guy like that in, you got to play. He's the starter.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Austin Eckler at $8 million, nah.
Yeah. You bring in Henry, you bring in Saquon. There were a
Yeah.
lot of big running backs that moved around this year.
Speaking of Saquon, I mean, everybody saw he defected from the Giants over to the Eagles.
Oh, can we talk about the weird
Please.
Tiki Barber beef he had with that?
I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. I didn't see this.
Tiki Barber jokingly wrote "You're dead to me" after Saquon signed with the Eagles on Twitter, and Saquon Barkley went off on him. Like he apparently was like, "You never supported me as a ex-player with the team," and like just really upset with Tiki Barber. Apparently, it's crazy.
This is why everybody needs to get off Twitter.
Right. Also, why do you care what Tiki Barber thinks of
Really,
you?
who the hell cares what Tiki Barber thinks?
Right.
And besides, most Giants fans don't care what Tiki Barber says anyway.
Right.
Really?
Be honest
They don't
with you.
like him?
Nah, ever since what was it that year? I forget exactly what it was, but he came off with a real It's just, this city and this town, these fans aren't worth it for me to put my body on the line type of like a mentality. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like a Ricky Walters type of statement he had for Philly, but it was something along those lines, and it really drove. And it was a year before they actually won the Super Bowl, because when Tiki Barber was gone, that was one thing that the fans were all kind of like pointing and going, well, see, there you go, right there. You should have stuck with the team a little longer or whatever. And so
Well, he
I
did
forget the whole
have
beef exactly.
he didn't have that great of a career for a long time. Remember, he was like Mr. Fumble with them too.
Yeah.
Like Tiki Barber was looked at as a bust until Coughlin came in and said, there's this thing called 3 points of contact, and hold the ball here, and that fixed it for him. But
Right.
Okay, so fumbles in 2000, he had 9 fumbles that year.
yeah,
And then he had a string of them, 9, 8, 9, and 9 from 2000 to 2003.
yes, he was kind of known for that for a while.
And then it got a little better after that.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, he averaged for a career 4.7 yards per carry and, on more than 2,200 carries. So
Yeah.
he was legit. It's just the fumbling.
Sure.
I had forgotten all what you were talking about, Dave. I guess I remember at the time.
I remember him getting kicked off of was it GMA because he was having an affair with somebody, or
I do remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that wasn't a football thing.
no,
Right.
that was just standard celebrity having an affair with an intern thing.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember him pissing off New York though. Did he say
Yeah.
Chicago pizza's better or some nonsense? Like,
Yeah.
if you ever want to piss off a New Yorker, just talk about deep dish pizza being great. It's very
It's not
simple.
that hard to piss off a New Yorker.
No, they do wake up a little upset.
Well, look at where they have to live.
Yeah, it's
You
rough.
can blame them?
Rough up there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eckler signing. Overall, what do you guys think? Eckler signing, pretty happy with it?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, any?
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still like to see a more reliable every down back to come in there in terms of.
But who was that going to be,
tackle,
though? Who was that going to
Right.
be?
Oh, I had no idea.
That's what I mean. I mean, there wasn't
Yeah.
like, unless you were going to spend the big money on Derrick Henry, which would have been stupid, or Saquon. I mean, you weren't. I think they got the payment they maybe. Certainly one of the top of the bunch that they could have realistically got without spending gigantic,
Even
gigantic
Saquon,
money.
I wouldn't have loved that move.
Saquon never was the same after his injury, his knee problem.
The only guy I kind of liked was DeAndre Swift as far as free agents. Just
That would have been a good one.
A burner, but
yeah.
All right, so last thing they did re-sign Jamison Crowder, which was a bit unexpected, I think. 32, I think he'll be this year. He's up there, 31, 32.
It's got to be a small. I don't have the contract details.
Yeah, it's a 1-year small contract.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
you're basically bringing him back in to be the punt return, kick returner, slot guy option.
Can we please make a plea to this coaching staff and this GM to find a freaking kicker, a returner? Whether it's Crowder. Crowder wasn't that good last year. He was okay.
He was okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many generations do they need to go without a legitimate punt returner?
I mean, look, if you're bringing Crowder back and saying this is the guy you all got to beat, I'm fine with this.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Like, and I think that's kind of the intent here. He's a good, he was drafted by the team. I'm happy he's back, and he was the only legit slot receiver they had last year. So, like if that's his role and he's maybe the fourth receiver doing that for a season, I'm okay with it. Yeah, and I always liked Jamison Crowder, just as a player, fun player to watch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had no problem with him. Yeah, I just they've got a lot of money in the wide receiver group, so I don't think you're gonna see any more big name wide receivers signed. They could draft somebody, I guess, but I don't think they're gonna put too much. I think this group is kind of what it is.
It's a good draft class.
They could add like a Mike Williams from the Chargers, though.
That is not cheap, dude.
Well, that's the thing, though. He's probably going to do a 1-year deal with somebody because he hasn't been the staple of health either over the last several years either. So.
No, but he's not a small money guy.
No, but they got plenty of money too.
Yeah, but they have a lot of money in the receiver group already.
Right.
They got 12, almost 13% of the cap now in receivers, and that's without current
I
Crowder's
actually think
contract.
they're also trying to save a lot of money to roll over into next year
Oh,
once they're like,
let
all
me
right,
do
we
that
have our
real fast.
quarterback. Let's use him. Let's figure out what he needs.
Let me do this real
Yeah.
fast. Okay, but because I know we're at the end of the show here, so I updated everything I could with the salary cap. So right now I think I said we have 62 players under the cap, and so missing like 7 guys who I don't have contract details with yet.
Mhm.
They are now at 77 million under the rule of 51. And so if you throw in the next 7, that could be another 25 million, total. Right. And so you're looking, 52 million or so, and then you got to take out the draft picks, which is another about 13-ish. And so in round numbers, they've got maybe high 30s left.
High 30s, low 40s. Yeah.
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 Probably more like high 30s. So that's real. So they could still sign a bunch of players.
They could, or
they're going to have to.
Yeah, they don't have to.
No, they have to. They've got 62 on the roster right now.
Oh, they have to sign bodies, yes, but they don't have to. They could sign people for the minimum if they wanted to.
It sounds like they're kind of shaping up to be well under the cap.
Yeah, and I honestly think if your term is a long-term approach to building this thing through the draft and all that, like, don't spend money just to spend money. Like, if you want to sign guys to 1-year deals, I don't think it matters. But keep yourself in a good draft or a cap position for 2-3 years down the road should be the plan.
It kind of feels like adults are in charge for the first time in a while, doesn't it?
It feels like someone came into this with a game plan. Yes.
Yes. Really.
Yes, that's the biggest eye opener right there. A game plan.
Yeah.
I'm actually teary-eyed every time I mention the word linebacker now, too.
Because they actually signed 2 real linebackers. Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I think when McLuhan was there, he had a plan. It didn't necessarily work out all the time.
His plan was to drink as much scotch as he possibly could.
Well, yes, but he also was a guy who said, I want to build the lines, and we're going to focus on the draft first after that. He said, here's my plan. I like that. Bruce Allen came in and he was already drunk and he said, I'm a bottom monkey.
I'm a football player. We need football players.
Yeah. Football players. Yeah. Yeah.
We're close. You know what that means? We're close.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that means.
I was all, that's what he said that 1 year, like multiple times.
Yeah.
That just means we're close.
Right. And then Ron Rivera was clueless. And
he was a horrible GM. Ron Rivera's a worse GM than he was a coach.
And we do have to give a begrudging. Doug Williams kind of was the GM for that one season and didn't really have a plan either.
There's a reason why Doug Williams is not the GM anymore, despite
he's
being
still
a hero
around
to millions.
because they can't get rid of him. But
yeah,
Doug Williams,
he's kind of like that advisor, role, quote unquote advisor.
I mean, look, I love Doug Williams. Like, he's an important part of the history of the team.
Well, he's a history of the Washington Redskins, which is not this expansion team.
That is fair.
That is true.
But he comes with the furniture.
There's
certain guy. Anyone who's been in a large company knows certain guys come with the furniture.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah, if you're gonna buy this, you got Doug coming along. Because you can't get rid of Doug.
I'm pretty sure when Dan sold the team, he wrote it in.
Well, you look like you fired Doug Williams. You look like a butthead.
Right.
You can't fire Doug Williams.
Exactly. It would be like coming in and wanting to fire Joe Gibbs right away or something.
Exactly. Joe Gibbs has got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess Jerry did it to Tom Landry.
Tom Landry. Yeah, but everybody thought Jerry was a butthead for doing it.
That's true. And he is kind of a butthead.
And he is a butthead. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that kind of wraps up the
free agent spectacular.
Yeah. Busy season or off season so far.
We're going to keep our tracker up. We put a tracker up this week and kind of cut out a couple other posts just to kind of keep that going. So we will try to continue to update the tracker for the next couple of days, and then at some point we'll stop. But
we're just keeping track as I'm sure a lot of fans are, just like constantly checking social media to see what's new.
We thought we'd give you one-stop shop.
Yeah, we'll put it. We keep updating it with with that stuff.
I think you need to put up Wagner up there at the minimum, right, Alex?
I have already.
Oh,
I
you
put him
did?
up there.
Okay.
I think I got Wagner in there. I'll double check.
Okay.
I realized we missed Chin this morning.
No, it was in there.
Was he?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay, let me double check everything. Make sure we didn't have him in twice. It's a very
We
long
didn't. We don't
post.
have a double chin. No.
Oh, now we gotta leave him. All right, that should do it. All right, guys, we will see you all next week.
Bada bing.
All right, later.